Welcome to Rewrite the Mother Code, a podcast that ignites and celebrates your inner mothering essence, equipping you with the tools to live your dream life. I'm Dr. Gertrude Lyons, an author, coach, educator, and a blend of research, scholar, and mystical medicine woman. Join me in exploring holistic women's development, parenting, self-love, relationship fulfillment, and so much more. Let's delve into the depths of our inner mothers to reawaken our greatest selves and live our juiciest lives. In this podcast, we'll have conversations about mothering and motherhood that are real and raw and unlike any other. Through interviews with inspiring guests, live coaching sessions, and reflections on my own journey, Rewrite the Mother Code invites you to explore what it would feel like to stop living by limiting cultural and generational norms and start living and loving a more intentional life that you designed. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Rewrite the Mother Code with me, your host, Dr. Gertrude Lyons. I am delighted to have as a guest today, Darcy Sauers. And I'm so excited because we just recently recorded for her podcast, the Doula Darcy. And I just had the best conversation, one of those really ignited, building on each other and beautiful conversations. So now I get to have her on my show and you get to learn all about the beautiful work she's doing. So let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll move forward. So since 2010, Darcy has built a thriving postpartum doula business, now Doula Agency, in New Hampshire with her team of postpartum doulas handling the day-to-day in-person clients. Darcy spends her time and energy helping other doulas grow and scale their businesses with a focus on sustainability and not burning themselves out. Prior to having her own 3 children and becoming a doula, Darcy worked for 10 years in the advertising and marketing world. She was able to replace her corporate income quicker than most new doulas because of her previous career and expertise. Darcy now uses this experience to help other doulas build their own thriving practices. And you'll be able to learn all about that, all aspects of this spectrum. I am super excited. So without further ado, let's bring on Darcy. Well, so as promised, here I am with Darcy Sauers. And I'm so excited to have you on the show, Darcy, because we get to continue, build on. So the conversation we started on your show.
Yeah.
Doula Darcy. So please go look for the Doula Darcy show. We'll talk more about that, but look for that and pair these together. And
it was a really juicy conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks.
And I didn't want to stop. So we didn't have to, because now we get to keep going. And
So thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's let you in there. It's a delight. So happy to have you. Happy to, share you with my audience. So yay. And so speaking of sharing you with my audience, I get to kind of turn it right over to you to share about yourself, your story. They heard a little bit of your trajectory and, as I shared your bio, so to speak, but it's always so much better coming from you and you get to color it with the real life stuff, right?
Yeah.
Sort of the bullet points. So if you don't mind, just jump in.
Yeah. So I think my story kind of begins with, and after college, I got a job at an advertising agency and I worked there for 3 years. Then I moved to another one. And then I'm from Maine. So growing up in Maine in the 80s and living in the woods, that was just so boring. I wanted to go to New York City. Mm-hmm. So I did that. I had my 1 year. I worked at a marketing company in New York, in Manhattan. Ended up hating it. Anyway, I bebopped around. I had a decade-long career in advertising and marketing, and I loved it. I was in my 20s, and it was it seemed really exciting. I got free tickets to Broadway shows when I was in Manhattan. I got, ski tickets when I was back in New Hampshire. I got, got to go to all these fun events and parties. And
Yeah.
I was just like, this is great. This is a fun career. And I just thought, this is what I'll do my whole life. And then I had a baby and to make a long story short, my labor was going along great. And then I ended up having to have a C-section. And that, and everything was fine. My daughter was fine. I was physically fine. But when I got home, I was really, I got an infection. I was back in the hospital. I was sick. And everybody around me was like, oh, this is the happiest time of your life. This is the best thing. And I was just kind of sitting there like bleeding from every hole in my body, crying, sweating, and I had a fever. And I just thought, if this is the best, like, do I really want to go on? Just
Right.
like, this is I feel terrible right now. But I loved my daughter. I loved my baby so much that I thought, well, I don't have postpartum depression because I love her. I don't want to hurt her, and I don't want to be more than 3 feet away from her. So I'm fine. So I just kind of stuffed all the feelings I was having down. And I struggled a lot with, my OB flat out told me, she said, 100 years ago, you both would have died. Like, she was stuck inside of you. And like, we had to do the C-section to get her out. And so I was having all these feelings of, well, okay, we're put on this earth as women to have babies. Like, that's what we're designed to do. But my body's not designed to do that. Like,
Oh, wow.
something's wrong with me. And so then, as little things would come up with having a newborn, as they do, I was sleep deprived, healing from a surgery, trying to breastfeed. And, I'd have these rough days and think, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be a mother. Like, my body wasn't meant to do this. She was born via C-section. I beat myself up, Gertrude, so hard.
Darcy.
I know, looking back now, it's terrible.
So much.
And I didn't say this. Whenever my mom hears me talk about it, because she was there, that's the other thing. I had so much support. My mom was helping me. My mother-in-law was helping me. My husband at the time was so supportive. And I still was just in my own head, completely miserable. But none of them knew it. Anyway, so then I had 2 more babies in the next 3 years. So I had 3.
Oh my God.
I had 3 under 4.
Oh.
I was exhausted and I didn't know what a doula was. And then 2 weeks before I was supposed to go back to work with my daughter, I started to have these horrible thoughts that I would go to pick her up from daycare and she'd be dead. Oh. And I know now that's what are called intrusive thoughts. But at the time I thought they were premonitions, and I just thought, I can't do this. I quit my job. I talked to my husband. I was like, I can't go back. And he said, well, do whatever you want to do or need to do. We'll figure it out. But you're going to burn a bridge. Like, they're not going to rehire you if you quit. And I didn't care. So I quit. I did get the nicest email. I saved it and hung it in my office for the longest time, from the CEO of the company that I was working for at the time. And he said, Darcy, we're really sorry to see you go. You're a great employee. He said, but this is a decision you're never going to regret. And I just thought that, to stay home with your daughter. And I thought that was really nice for the CEO.
And was that in the 90s?
That was that was in 2004.
Oh, 2004. Okay.
So,
wow. Yeah.
So that was pretty great. But, so then I stayed home for a while, and then somewhere along the way, I got a job at this company called Zanga, which at the time was a very popular blogging. So this was probably in 2006 or 7. It was like bumping up against Facebook as like the most popular website at the time. I learned a lot about blogging, and I was reading a lot of blogs working while my kids were napping. And I read a blog about a postpartum doula and how a postpartum doula showed up and took care of a mom right after she had a baby and listened to her birth story and, supported her and cared for her. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I need to do with my life. And I did some research, and there happened to be a postpartum doula training in Boston, 45 minutes from my house a few weeks later. It was amazing. The stars aligned, the path was clear.
Absolutely.
Everything so I did my training, I got certified, and then, never looked back on my advertising and marketing career. And then I was a postpartum doula, and that was my job, to go help other moms. And to me, my mission was to help other moms not have the experience and the feelings that I had had. And it was the best job in the world. Yeah. So, the funny part about it is, a couple of years in, I decided to take an extra training with Postpartum Support International, which is such a great organization. And they were doing a training on postpartum mood disorders. And they, a few slides into the training, the instructor said, okay, so I'm putting up some symptoms, thought patterns. If you're working with clients and they're exhibiting a handful of these, like they have a postpartum mood disorder. And I just read this symptom list, and I thought I had every single one.
Wow.
So I, looking back, diagnosed myself with postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and all, and I didn't say anything to anybody. So, and I just see it and saw it all the time with my postpartum doula clients, that the stories that we tell ourselves in our heads as we're becoming mothers, but I'm sure it continues. So.
Well, there were so many things I wanted to interrupt, but I like to get more of the story out before. And it's like, like all the feelings, right?
Yeah.
Of how unprepared. I mean, we still are, I gave birth twice in the 90s, like 96 and 98. And, my daughter's looking to start a family, and she has friends who've had children. And I'm like, it's not a whole lot different.
No, it's the same.
I'm like, yes, they're exposed to more.
I was going to say, they have social media to deal with.
They do, which is, a pro
good
and a con.
Bad. Yeah.
Good and bad, right? But all of it still emphasizes what, one of the things I wanted to underline, Darcy, with like you had some good support, but you still felt like you were supposed to do it all. Like the support should be like kind of icing on the cake or extra.
Yeah.
And if any amount of the support was almost an indictment, right? As opposed to
it was also like, there was also like guilt. Oh, I have all this support and I'm still really struggling. I'm still like just looking for any chance to lay down and get a break. And so then I think, well, I'm privileged. I have all this help here. My mom lives 20 minutes down the road. What do people do that don't? How are these women doing it that don't have support?
Yeah.
But then I would put it back on myself, like, what is wrong with me?
What's wrong with you? That with all this, I still somehow you're still doing it wrong,
right?
Or it's so isolatory, and as you said, anywhere, and we all have them, right? Those intrusive thoughts or misconceptions or mistaken beliefs about who we are and our capacities, but they're just magnified to such a degree in birth and new motherhood, and so it's not like they just appeared out of nowhere. take on a new form, and if they're ever going to show themselves, their full strength,
Yeah.
it's then because they're fueled, by a culture that doesn't see, the community aspect of it, or, honor that.
But
And
also, this is something we talk a lot about in the doula world, that we don't honor the mothers.
right.
Once that
Take care of that baby.
right, once that baby is born, well, you're having a doctor's appointment every 2 weeks. Then the baby's born, and they're like, "We'll see you in 6 weeks.
See ya.
See
Yeah.
ya."
Yeah.
And friends, family, they want to come, they want to hold the baby, they want to ask if the baby's a good baby. Like, no one's checking in with the mom. The other thing is, if you have any kind of traumatic birth or medical event during your birth, is the baby okay? Is the baby healthy?
Right.
It's anytime I would try to process a traumatic C-section with a friend it immediately circles back to, but you guys are okay. The baby's okay. I even said it when I was telling you the story.
I know.
We were okay.
We're okay. Well, at least you said we, but
Yeah. But we were medically okay.
Right.
It's like we as a society don't even let mothers process their birth. Honestly, good or bad.
No.
Because if you start talking about your beautiful home birth you had by a waterfall, then you're bragging and shoving it in everyone's face that they couldn't do that. And then if you're scarred by what happened in the delivery room, well, don't make a big fuss about it, because your baby's healthy, and that's all that matters.
Right. The physicality and the health of both of you. The baby is still primary. The health of the baby.
Who cares what you went through, mom? The baby's fine.
And, and I'm sure you've run into this, women having to fight for themselves.
Yes.
To get seen and looked at, because they sense that something's wrong with them postpartum, physically even, still in the hospital. And they're like, no, look, you check out. And it's like, no, I know something's wrong. And the level that I've heard, many women, Serena Williams being one of them, almost died because she couldn't get them to believe her, that she's like, I know something's wrong. I have a clotting condition and I feel it, like something is happening here, and was, this close to.
She had to drag herself out to the nurse's station. I mean, if you're Serena Williams and you can't get listened to.
Yeah. And that's the physical part. But what we're talking about that goes then most,
right.
Particularly you're just supposed to be happy. You have this baby now, and maybe you've worked really hard, to get that baby. So suck it up,
and so
you don't get to have space and time. So
that I was going to say, one of my favorite parts, one of the things that ended up being my favorite parts of postpartum doula work is, we're trained to listen to a person's birth story and not pass any judgment, not say anything, just listen, hold space.
Yeah.
And I would love, I've had amazing conversations with so many mothers who, some would very easily, I'd ask them a few questions and we'd get to the heart of their feelings quickly. Others, it took weeks of them getting to know me, the walls coming down, for them to feel safe enough to say, actually, I'm not doing well, and to be a postpartum doula and to mirror back to them and say, that's okay. That's in fact, that's normal. Yes. And this is why I said Instagram social media can be a con for moms today, is that it's all sunshine and rainbows and perfect outfits. And the happy parts of having a newborn. And, it doesn't necessarily show the boredom, the
Yeah.
routine, the sleep
The
deprivation, the
monotony. You're like, what a,
monotony. Yeah.
yeah.
And that it's okay to say, I'm not loving every second of this. I love my
Mhm.
baby, but I'd love to go
Abs-
take a walk by myself.
I'm
So
supposed to love
to
every
be
second
to
of
as
this.
a
Yeah.
doula to have the space and the special, I don't know, like role of sharing that with mothers as
Mhm.
they navigate through. It's kind of like talking through with them, like, yeah, you do matter. Your feelings matter. Your thoughts about this matter. And let's figure to what your work, Gertrude, like, let's figure out like who you are now. I
Yeah.
had one of the things I had to struggle with as a postpartum doula was getting paid to just sit on the couch and talk
Mm.
or listen to these
Yeah.
moms as they figure out who they are now and process that and hold space with them.
Mhm.
And again, at first I
Well,
was hard because I thought I'm just sitting here. There's dishes in the sink I could do, or I should go switch that laundry. Like, is she going to be mad when our time is up? No, she was never mad. She always felt better. And then I started to
mhm.
see like, and I could talk for hours. During COVID, when we
Oh
couldn't
gosh.
go to anybody houses, postpartum
Oh.
doulas were like, well, we can't do anything. And I was out there saying, yes, I think the most important part of our work is that sitting on the couch, which you could
Mm.
do on Zoom. And especially during a global pandemic, those
Yeah.
poor people that had babies during that lockdown time.
Can't
I
imagine.
really am a proponent that a postpartum doula's work, a main role is that listening and talking and helping a mom become a mom, like
Hmm.
frame that identity for herself and figure out how she wants that to be.
Absolutely. I love that you're bringing this point to the forefront, Darcy. I, I, I want to like underline, 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 uh, because in a a predominantly masculine valued culture, doing, if you're not doing, like
Right.
you're not
Oh, yes.
helping, you're not of value. Like, so
Right.
you sharing how uncomfortable that was, or,
Yeah.
is this okay? But like you had that sense inside you, you knew it was, but it
Mm,
went against, this wiring, this cultural
yeah.
wiring we have of like, she's going to be mad,
Right.
and yeah, it is some of like a job description of a doula is to take care of
Right.
some of that. But
Yeah.
the fact that you're pointing out, like, really the most important thing we're doing is holding space and being
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
I just, I want to shout on the rooftops about that, because
Yeah.
then that helps. I mean, one, you're there helping her process and being that person. And I will say, and not as a family member, not as a friend,
Mm,
like
yeah.
someone who, isn't emotionally or relationally connected
I
has
always
its own
say,
value.
yeah, I always say that hiring a postpartum doula is like, it's like having your mom there without the emotional baggage.
Exactly. and, and you can't help it. Even the best of, what we'll say the best of moms.
Yeah.
But a good, decent, healthy relationship. There's
Yeah.
stuff. Of course, there's
Oh,
stuff, and
yes.
there's
I
gonna be stuff, and
another
that's okay. That's normal, right?
exactly. And
Hmm.
another kind of jokey thing I say to all my clients is like, uh, as your doula, there's no family baggage with us. Like your mother-in-law could come yesterday and give you some advice on like how to diaper the baby, and it could make you cry because coming from her, it just seems like
A
a
criticism,
criticism. I said, I
right?
can give you the exact same advice the next day. And you're like, that's a great idea. I think I'll try
Yeah,
that. Like, just
yeah,
because there's not that piece with it. So,
totally.
yeah, and throw hormones and sleep deprivation in. And,
Yeah. And
um,
well, I also do want to say, like, I love then, well, and this is, I mean, we can bounce around
yeah.
because I, I think this aspect of you having had, built systems and structures and had experience isn't it cool? Like, I don't know about you, but like I hear
Yeah.
a story like that and it was like some part of your self knew that I need to learn these things
Mm,
now.
yes.
And you enjoyed it and it wasn't like a means to an end. You weren't in the mindset of like, so that you're like, I'll be in marketing PR forever. I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But
Yeah.
there's this other thing going on in my mind
Right.
where it's like, no, we have other plans for you.
Right. Yeah.
You
You
don't know what they are,
thought
but
you
you're
would
going
have
to
a
need
nine to
this
five,
background.
but it
So,
ended up, I look at everything happens for a reason.
yeah,
My marketing and advertising background helped me build up my postpartum doula business.
exactly.
And, none of it was a waste. And now I've even transitioned to, I had one day, I don't know, maybe 8 years into being a postpartum doula, and I was actually sitting on a couch talking to a mom, talking through some feelings, and she was feeling so much better after our conversation. I just thought I had this like, I remember it so vividly because I thought, oh, I helped her today. I said, I bet there's other moms in this neighborhood who need to have this same conversation, who need the same support. There's other moms in town. I just had this frustration of only helping one person a
Mm,
day. Um, so long story short, I ended up birthing this new part of my career where I'm helping other doulas with their marketing and their advertising so that they can
yes.
help more moms. And it's been, it's been amazing because I feel like I'm combining every aspect of my life
Yeah.
until now to help. What I'm ultimately doing is helping more women get access to birth and postpartum doula support, which is just amazing.
Which
And if,
is exactly like
yeah, what
I
the world
think
needs.
what the world needs, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I do believe so many people, I would say it's predominantly women that become doulas or they did it out of caring and like
Yes.
they didn't have this 10 years of a business
Hmm.
and it's like this is what I want to do and then find themselves like, well, okay, I got a workbook or like maybe there
Yeah.
was like one or two
Right.
days in my doula
Yeah.
training on like how to do a business.
Right.
But no, like
No.
that is how, so I was,
I liken it to like when I was pregnant and I took a class or read a book, the chapter on C-sections. I was like, well, I'll just I'm not gonna, that doesn't apply to me. I'm an athlete.
right.
I got good grades in school. Like I'm gonna ace this birth thing. So I was just like that. So it's like when you take your doula training, it's the same thing. Like you're there for the baby stuff and the birth stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like the business, like whatever. Yeah, I don't need that. And
No, it'll just happen or yeah.
well,
So
you just for me, and I talk to so many doulas that are like this. You're just so excited to have found out that this is a career
yeah.
that that's all you're thinking about and you finish and then
Yeah.
but it's not like other things where you can just go apply for a doula job. You have to go start your own business and you have to market yourself so that everybody knows you exist. So that's where I get fired up
It's a
now.
whole
That
other
it's a whole other skill set.
exactly. It's a whole other thing. And people a lot I imagine and maybe you can share that like in the women that you're supporting in that arena, like feel really uncomfortable selling
Oh, yeah.
themselves. Like
Oh,
I just want to
yes.
like go
I
to
just want to help.
I just want to help. Like and I yeah, women tell me I'm pretty good at it, but like I can't like brag about myself. I can't
Right.
like,
I
you
can't
should have
post on.
me as your doula,
Yeah.
I'm great. Like we're
Right.
so not wired that way in general, but
Oh,
in
I
this
know.
profession, like, oh, I can't do that. Like that's going to
Yeah.
seem
It's
too aggressive or
too,
something.
yeah,
I don't know.
sleazy and
Right.
right.
She's
But
selling me on doula. And it's
you,
like, yeah, we need to.
you
You
need
need
to,
to.
yeah. And I mean, I always say my favorite quote about marketing is from Michael Hyatt, and he says, "Marketing is really just about sharing your passion."
Hmm.
I've never met a doula that's not passionate about this. So if you,
And it creates trust that we don't realize
yes,
that. Like when
that's,
you speak, affirmative of yourself, and even if it's, what other people have said of you, that creates trust. Like, oh,
mhm,
I've been a doula for this many births, or
right.
I'm getting, I don't know. We don't, well, maybe we are on Google, but it's like, I'm a 5-star doula, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
whatever, like
I have 50
whatever you
reviews
could
on, yeah.
say,
Yeah.
my
Right. I think the
reviews or whatever
cool
it
thing
is.
is though, we don't, as doulas, we don't really have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to do enough that people know we exist. Like if they Google doula near me, like our website comes up. But choosing who's going to be your doula is a lot like dating. Like you have to meet
Yeah.
them and see if you click or not. It
Mm-hmm.
so that's a good news for doulas. You just have to be yourself. And you don't have to like learn sleazy sales techniques and things like that to get hired.
Yeah.
But you do have to have a website and social media presence and network in your community. You have to do the things so that clients aren't just going to come knock on your door. Unfortunately, even
Right.
you could be. I always say you could be the best doula in the world, and people aren't going to just show up. They have to know you exist. So I
Yeah,
really
that
love
makes
that
sense.
I'm getting to do this now because there's so many wonderful, compassionate, knowledgeable women that have become doulas that aren't getting to do the work simply because of a lack of marketing. And I don't want that to be the reason
No.
women aren't hiring doulas or women who are called to doula
Or
work.
they give up on it because they're not
Yeah.
getting enough. Like you
Right.
said, did you say
Like
it in
have
your
to go
bio?
back.
Like that you were able to, pretty quickly
Mhm.
replace your income, and whether this is a career shift or a starting of a career, you need to make a certain amount of money at
Right.
it,
Yeah.
or unless somebody's
Or you're
supplementing
going to have
it,
to, yeah.
or you can't
Or,
do that job.
yeah, you're going to have to go back to another job. So
Yeah.
why
Ex-
not have this be your job if it's
yeah.
what you're called to do? So,
Yeah. No, exactly. Um, and I don't know, maybe I just, I'm imagining that actually when I'm working with someone like you in that, that probably a lot of them find it kind of fun. It isn't
yeah.
just this,
Well,
the marketing or the like, oh, okay. Like
it it's
it isn't,
also this is what I think you'll think cool about it. It's also like for a lot of these women birthing themselves into a new era of it's giving them freedom to
Mhm.
be their own boss, make their own schedule as much as you can make your own schedule when you're on call for
Right.
a birth, but you know, um, make their own money, have that freedom to not have a boss, not have a 9 to 5 job, not have, these restrictions, that real jobs, I'll say,
Yeah.
place on you. So that's turning into like one of my new favorite things of what I'm doing now is, you know, helping a lot of women that like are becoming doulas in their 50s. Like this is, they've, maybe they were a
Mm-hmm.
teacher or a nurse and they're just ready to, what a lot of them say is like actually help, actually, save the
Like really
world.
feel
So,
it. Yeah.
but, and it's the first time in their life that they're, I mean, it's different to earn a paycheck versus earn your own money doing something you absolutely love to do that feels like a
Mm-hmm.
calling. It just hits different
Yeah.
and it's
Absolutely.
fun to help these women kind of design their lives around that
Yeah. It's
freedom.
giving the whole design. And I can't remember if we talked about this, but another thing I love about what you're providing and what you're doing, I talk about masculine, feminine, like more a yin yang
Mhm.
values perspective versus like gender, right?
Yeah.
So, like masculine would be building,
Mm.
the can't think off the top of my head the feminine counterpart, but like feminine things of nurturing, of
Like just
process,
attracting and
allowing,
yeah.
where and the masculine might be more very systematic and
Mhm.
linear and logical, where the feminine's more circular and the being versus the
Yeah.
doing, right?
Right.
So, not all of what you're talking about in the PR and marketing and business aspect, but given that business has been created
Yeah.
in a more masculine model,
Yes.
it is, I like the reframe for me that I always love is it's understanding, being able to not overvalue the masculine aspect of it, but use it in service of the feminine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, that's kind of ultimately how it should be, right? Or
Yes.
like a world in balance
Absolutely.
and
Right.
harmony is, that masculine like builds the scaffolding or builds the foundation that, the feminine can do. It's like holistic, big
Yeah.
birthing, creating job. And there's overlap and it's not like, so cut and dry
Yeah.
because there's a lot of creativity and that in PR and marketing. So we're
Yeah.
not like saying that, but some of these like just business aspects,
Right.
accounting, infrastructure,
Oh yeah.
systems, like really important and we need them so we can do that thing that we really love and are passionate about and
Right.
helping, these women have, the care,
Y-
the
Exactly.
care
Yeah.
that is so missing, right?
Oh,
And
I
so,
know.
and for
Yeah.
women to understand that, this isn't an indulgence. This is, this was provided by the community at one time. We have to kind of architect it now in
Right.
ways we didn't have to for so long.
Exactly.
And that is, you're doing everyone a service, and you being in good shape is the best thing
Mm-hmm.
you can do for your baby.
Oh my gosh.
I'll always say that,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. For sure. A- and that's what we were talking about on my podcast when you came on was the idea of self-mothering
Mm-hmm.
when you have a new baby and then uh, realizing that fact that this is how I kind of talk to about it with my clients, like to be the best mom you can be, you have to be taking really, really, really good care of yourself. And that for some reason, it's like not how we were taught. It's kind of like,
We have generations of not seeing that modeling, not
right,
valuing ourselves and our care,
right,
for millennia. So you feel like, oh, it's selfish. Oh, it's, like you're failing. There's so many messages that you
yeah,
can, pull up to the surface of like why that's not okay.
right,
And that it's so disempowering and so restrictive of then to have the experience that is possible or just to have your experience and be okay with it, and
right,
know
right.
if you need additional help or, you've thrown into extreme postpartum depression, there's care for you. Right.
Yeah. And you
And
deserve it. You don't
yes,
have,
isn't that a big piece?
oh, yeah.
Don't you
The,
find that like getting to that deserving is kind of a turning a corner for women?
yes. And it can be a long road, understandably, because well, like we were talking about earlier, that every message we're getting is like, well, is the baby healthy? As long as the baby's healthy, like it doesn't matter, mom, how you're feeling, what you need. You just suffer so that the baby is doing well and
Right. Survives. Right.
survives.
Like
Right. It
kind of not
doesn't,
really getting that, like, well, it is
it,
impacting the
right.
baby.
Yeah. And the baby needs you, mom, to survive. So, um, it's, yeah, it's really been a fascinating career to walk with moms through this
Yeah.
and kind of, um, even Actually right before this, I was doing an interview for my postpartum doula agency, and the mom, there's kind of this subtle struggle of the mom, like, it's like they want confirmation, like, I'm not the only one that's asking for help. Like, what do other moms, like, how many, here's the question they always ask: how many weeks do other moms book you for? It's kind of like they're thinking, and it was interesting because this person I just interviewed, she was having her second baby. So she's like, I know how it went the first time and I'm looking for a different experience. But she still was like, basically asking, is it too much for me to book 10 weeks of support? Are other moms doing
Yeah.
that? It's like, yes, do whatever you want.
Right. But we think like, oh gosh,
do I deserve that?
Indulgent
like,
to do.
What will the neighbors say?
Exactly.
What will, like,
what's wrong with her that she needs 10 weeks of support,
yes. Right. But that's what happens is, mother-in-laws and aunts and friends are like, well, I did it without any help and I was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know why
what do you need all that for?
Yeah.
Right. Or
yeah. So
no, so you gotta, there's a lot. And that's, if you haven't done any work before having a baby, and when I say work, like, self-awareness, self-actualization, like building some of that core, and you have to do it, right in the throes. It's still possible, but I'm always encouraging of women, if you're thinking of having a baby someday, if there's one reason to do personal growth work and know thyself and get some healing and, just immerse yourself in that world to build a certain sense of core sense of self, because you're going to, like, I thought I had done, and especially for that time, like some really intensive, like, growth work. And I had a little bit of warning, like, well, you'll probably regress. And it's like, what? Like, I kind of thought, like,
I won't.
Yeah. I mean, some, but not. And you're just like, wow, it's not like it all went out the window, and it probably came back to me quicker or that, but it wasn't, there was no smooth sailing, and it wasn't the magic answer, but without it, I can't even imagine. Right.
Yeah.
Like for me, it would have, I don't like to imagine, put it that way.
Right.
Because I was so externally focused. I was so externally, like, everyone else is an expert. I can't trust myself or my intuition or my embodied knowing. Like, what even is that? So,
right.
And I still struggled with it, but I had a sense that, like, and periodically trust myself or eventually get there. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I also just want to say that as encouragement out there. It's also not too soon or early. And sometimes even as moms, then it's like, well, I'll do this part of it, the self-growth or therapy or whatever, so I can be a better mother. Like, if that's what gets you there, okay. But eventually we want to come around to, like, no, it's because it's for you, right? And other people are going to benefit, great, but we got to reverse it at some point, or at least have some inkling. It took me a long time to have any sense of that, right?
Oh, me too. And
I'm still.
I was just going to say, I'm still kind of working. I still am working on it. So
yeah, absolutely. So
it's
what I wanted to do before we start wrapping up, I realized that we got this far in, and just to say a few words, because you and I live in this world of midwives and doulas and have used them, known about them. You have a business. There might be some listeners who this is the first time they're hearing about it, or like just a little bit of Doula 101 of what,
Oh yeah. I forget.
They just heard all that. And it's like, okay, well, now we can look up doula and they don't have to, but I still like kind of hearing it, from you, what are some aspects of it that would be great to underline at this point, just the basics.
So I get so many questions about, is the doula the same as the midwife? And they're not. So the midwife is providing you medical care throughout your pregnancy and your birth. And in the immediate postpartum, birth doulas are there to support you physically, emotionally, informationally during late pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. So we do no medical tasks. But I always say we're experts in what's normal, what falls within the realm of normal. I always say to my clients, if I'm at your house, I'm not going to take your blood pressure or check your stitches, but like the funny noise your newborn's making, like I know what's normal and what's worth a call to the pediatrician.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so the doula's role is to really support the mom throughout and in all the ways that your midwife or OB and pediatrician and primary care physician are not. And your best friend maybe is not, and your mom, it's like you were saying, it's so nice to have your family and friends supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
It's also really nice to have the big thing with doulas is that we offer non-judgmental, evidence-based support. And that is worth its weight in gold.
Much.
Yeah.
So worth it. And then when we were talking about like doulas needing to market themselves and that, like sometimes there are doulas who are like, they're sole entrepreneurs, they have their doula practice. And then there's also doula agencies.
Yes.
Can you just make that
distinction?
So
a lot of doulas start their own businesses, like you said, where they're working on their own or working maybe in partnership with one other doula. And then there are in some bigger cities, there's doula agencies which are great to go work for if you're new and just starting out and looking for some experience. They're also great to work for if you don't want to handle the business side or the marketing side. You get to just show up and be a doula, and the agency handles everything else. But I don't know. I think a majority of doulas end up wanting to open their own practice eventually. It's just more lucrative. But doula agency is a great first step if there's one.
It is. You can kind of learn and not have to wrap your mind around all of that.
All of it at once. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then as someone who's looking for a doula, I would advocate checking out all those. We ended up using an agency that was recommended. It was called Birthway. It's still around, Birthways in Chicago. And I think it is. I mean, I haven't checked in the most recent time, but I believe so. But then within that, they give you, and there's probably a lot that gets done online now, but before, you'd meet, they'd say, here's who's available. Talk to them, meet them. And so you immediately had like a few people to choose from, which was a nice thing about an agency. But you can do the same thing. It's just, with talking to people that have their own gig. Yeah,
exactly. And I said, choosing your doula is a lot like dating. You really want to choose one that you have a great connection with because they're either coming into your house in those first few weeks after you have a baby, or they're coming to your birth. I mean, those are two really, really vulnerable places, transformative times. So if you're interested in hiring a doula, I always say, talk on the phone with a few, meet a couple for coffee, and, pick the one who you have a connection with that also has experience and credentials and all that. But I think really the most important thing is that connection, who you feel safe and comfortable with. And you can do that on Google to find the doulas in your area. And there's a lot.
You don't have to be somewhat, as you know, I've shared a lot. Yeah, I had home births.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had those midwives, and then I had friends. I had a postpartum doula. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't just have you only do a doula if you're doing that like natural
Oh,
thing.
no.
They can come to the hospital with you. You can labor with them at home for the birth.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
so there's lots of ways to incorporate them and in the whole journey, like you said, pregnancy,
Yeah.
birth, no matter what kind of birth you're
Birth.
choosing, right?
Exactly.
Like,
I'm so
and
glad you
that's
said
what I
that.
love.
Yes.
Yes.
So, because, yeah, epidural, unmedicated, whatever kind of birth you're having, the doula is there.
Yeah,
Again, it's non-judgmental support. We're there to support you no
totally.
matter what you're choosing. We're absolutely going to provide evidence-based information if for questions that you're asking us, but we're not pushing any type of
Hmm.
birth, type of parenting style. Um, I think so, but there is that common misconception that doulas are for home births
Right.
but I think, oh my gosh, if you're giving birth in a hospital, all the more reason to have a doula to help you navigate that medical
Hmm.
system, help you navigate the medical terms and interventions that are going to get thrown around. I always say having a birth doula is like you don't have to Google stuff. You can ask your doula who you've met with 3 times
Yeah.
about your pregnancy. She knows your preferences. She knows your thinking on things. And if a doctor comes in and starts yelling all these medical terms and we're going to start Pitocin and then we're going to do a drip of this and that of that, like you can look to your doula and say, what just
What does
happened?
this
Like, what,
mean?
what does
Yeah.
this
Like,
mean? What are our
explain.
options?
Yeah.
And I think
Exactly. And I think that is
that
so,
is,
so important because when you're in the heat of it, and like you said, you have been convinced that you were, you're in such great shape and everything's going
yeah,
to go
right.
perfectly. And we all like
Yeah,
want to think that, right? But
yeah,
you don't even know the kind of like pressure or, how spent, exhausted, or whatever you might be. And whoever's in there with you might be just as exhausted or so emotionally tied to it that you need someone like you said. I think
yes.
did you say like the no that was but to be like the higher functioning thinking in the
Yes,
moment, right?
yes.
And
And someone who knows you.
can
And then
navigate with you
the other thing is to
and advocate.
navigate, advocate. Yes. And
Yeah.
the thing is, you don't even know the hospital system that you're going to be at and are they putting you on a timeline? If you're not at 5 centimeters after 3 hours, are they going to insist you start some medications or do you have to? I mean, there's so many things. So,
So many things. And to understand
um,
that, to go in
but-
knowledgeable, to me, that's the self-mothering from that
yeah,
aspect of like, you know, know a lot. You don't have to be suspicious or, it's just, there's just so much, but you don't want to have to know everything. So you have a
right.
doula that but to have some idea and know the parameters and kind of know what you might be getting into or what
Absolutely.
might come up. And then, you say now, like, I want a natural childbirth no matter what. And so at least then the doula is going to not push, but like be able to be with you in a way that if you change your mind, that helps you navigate that change, right? And
Exactly.
not like
So,
force you to do what you said you wanted to do. But at the same time, they're not going to just say, okay,
yeah.
or, uh,
Right. A classic example is, if you've met with your doula and told her that you really want a natural, unmedicated childbirth, great. But then you're in labor and your doctor comes in and says, like, how about we just start some Pitocin? Like, let's get things moving. And you can say, are there any side effects? And they're like, no, it's fine. You're going to be fine. And you think, yeah, okay, let's try it. But then your doula can say, well, remember how you said you want an unmedicated birth? Here's the stats on Pitocin and what the cascade of interventions that's putting you on.
mhm.
How about if you ask your doctor, like, is this medically necessary right now? Is this an emergency or can we wait an hour?
Yeah,
Though that's a classic scenario
I
where a
love that.
doula can help you and you didn't know that
No.
you could ask your doctor if you could wait an hour, but that's the kind of thing your doula can help you with. And if you take nothing else from this interview and you're pregnant, please don't go into your birth thinking, I really like my doctor and I'm just gonna show up and go with the flow. Please don't go into birth with that attitude. Like, I know it seems like you're being easygoing and you don't care, but I taught prenatal yoga for so many years, and I would hear that over and over again in class. Like, we'd go around and introduce, and I heard that over. And I think that was how I felt going into birth. I was just like, yeah.
I know I would have if I hadn't been exposed to other things. I would have too.
Right. And I've seen it as a postpartum doula, sitting on the couch with moms who are crying, saying, oh, I wish I had known. I could have said no to that, or I wish I had known more about this and I had done things differently, but I didn't read any books or watch any movies or hire.
I wish I knew I had choice, because we've been so lulled into and hypnotized by, like, you don't need to. We'll take care of all of it for you. Isn't that amazing?
Just be a good patient.
Just be a good patient. So now you're going to get me on my rant, so our hospital can have as many births as possible, because we got to keep you on a schedule. And that's the other thing I love about a doula, because even if you midwife in a hospital, you're not going to have that midwife through your whole birth. They're going to be tending to if you happen to be lucky, you're the only one birthing, but that's rarely is the case, with a doctor or midwife. In a hospital, you're going to have like 4 or 5 others. So to have, which is fine, like if you choose that, but I also think you deserve to have somebody in there with you the whole time, right? And that's you, right? Like that's the doula and the
right. And that's something I think, again, before you're in labor, I don't think you realize the value of that consistent presence and consistent support. And also you think your doctor is going to be in there the whole time, but they come in for the last 7 minutes.
Exactly.
You're not going to see them. So,
they might pop in, I guess, as they're walking the halls and check on you for a sec, but they're not holding your hand or that's not That's not how that rolls. No.
So, but your doula will. So,
well, I know I'm keeping you.
That's all right.
Because I love this conversation so much, and I want everybody to know everything and to understand, and choices and ask questions and advocate for yourself.
Yes.
And if you have this intuitive sense that you want something in your birth or in your new motherhood, you're probably going to have to figure out how to get that, but do it, right?
Right. Yeah. Try.
There's a reason you're having those nudges.
Yes.
No matter how many of the people around you, well, they're not doing that, or they didn't need that, or whatever. It's like, no, you're sensing something. Okay. Well, how do people both, find you because they're in your area and you could be their doula, or they're a doula and they want to have your expertise in all of it, however you're working these days or want to share with the audience.
If you happen to live in Dover, New Hampshire and need a postpartum doula, you can go to doverdoula.com. If you are a doula, head to thedoulardarcy.com or find me on Instagram at the Doula Darcy, or listen to my The Doula Darcy podcast and shoot me a DM on Instagram. I love connecting with other doulas and moms and answering questions and connecting. So thank you so much for having me on. This was so great.
Oh my gosh, this was amazing. I have one last question for you that I do ask all my guests, so I can't miss out on this with you, which is, what does rewrite the mother code mean to you? Oh. I know we need another hour, right? But just, you can summarize.
I just got a little teary. It means to me, oh my God, totally. It means to me, I joke all the time with my own mom. She actually, during COVID, did all the ancestry and found out we were descendants of the Mayflower. So I joke with her all the time, that Puritan New England, you're not a good person unless you're suffering and working hard and chopping your own firewood and growing your own food. It was so baked into me, my mother, my grandmother, everybody before that, that a good mother suffers. A good mother will do whatever it takes and whatever is needed for the benefit of her children and
At her expense.
at her expense, and that a good mother doesn't need to ask for any help, doesn't need to take a nap, doesn't need to meet her own needs. And so for me, that's what rewriting the mother code is. Like, I had to rewrite it for myself, and I hope that my work as a postpartum doula has helped other mothers rewrite it, and for my daughter and everybody else. But just to me, rewrite the mother code means take control of your own life. Which, like,
Here, here.
why is that such a
Sounds so revolutionary because
like,
it is,
like,
right?
yeah. So thank you for the work that you do. It's so
Thank
important.
you. Thank you, Darcy. Yes, thank you for that for me, but thank you for what you're doing and
Thanks.
the gift you are to the
Oh,
people get to be with you one-on-one, and then how you're now mothering the doula community
mm,
as well,
mm,
and helping it grow and
yeah.
expand. And so
Oh,
um,
thanks for
maybe
seeing.
that was some of that training you got with three children under 4.
Yes.
It all like comes
Oh,
back, right?
it
Like,
all does.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it
No, I
is.
love
So.
that. Well, thank you for being here. I can't wait for everyone to hear this, and do follow Darcy and the Doula Darcy. Just support doulas and use
Yeah.
them
Hire
as
doulas.
what we're
Yeah. So
hire them.
awesome.
Yes. Recommend
Yeah.
them, hire them. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Well, what a great conversation. And I was talking to Darcy after we stopped recording, and I expected us to kind of wrap up like about 20 minutes sooner than we actually did, because I really wanted that kind of more information about doulas and specifics about what it means to hire one and what that looks like and what they really, the expansiveness of that work, so that if you're out there and that's something that you may be or are currently, looking or considering, that you do so, right? Really explore that, because it's such a, no matter what kind of birth you're having and choosing, and I think that was a big theme in there, is just really understanding the choice. And, this may sound harsh, but we've gotten lazy, and we want to just like assume that everything goes perfectly and there's no problems, in a typical, the most predominant type of birth in a hospital with a doctor. And you really need to educate yourself. You really need to know, what are the things that can go wrong? Like, how does this go? Not because you shouldn't do it, but so you can start practicing. How does that feel to me? How do I feel about, like, if I know for me, when I was considering home birth versus birth in a hospital with midwives, a lot of birth with a midwife in a hospital felt good. And, and then there were just some things like, nope, I don't, well, one of the things that I had a kind of a gut response to was, if at 2 weeks from your designated due date, you weren't in labor yet, they would induce. And to me, that was too hard of a line. Like, if everybody was okay, heartbeats, there's no concerns, like, I don't think there should be a timeline like that. Where if everything's going along, sometimes the process, like, due dates aren't a magic number, there's fluidity in there. And to understand and know that, like, that was something that just I didn't feel good about. And it might have been something I had to deal with if I decided I liked everything else about it. There's no perfect scenario or, situation. There's always going to be a little bit of, well, this isn't my favorite part of that way or this way. But again, coming back to an underlining choice and really being aware that our culture has limited what we think are our choices and even thinking about it, and then be discerning. So I'm underlining. I can't say this enough because it takes a lot to get through how heavily enculturated we've become around that and around not questioning the authority, whoever they may be. Right. And that could be, I've had people have a similar experience with not liking, sometimes in a midwife practice or that they can get really staunch about how they do it and can get rigid within their framework. So, I always want to say this, I loved my experience. So of course, I think there's a lot of great things about it because I loved it. But it's not for everyone. And, it's so much more about trusting yourself, having a sense, feeling it in yourself and your being, and, what is it that I desire? And sometimes we have to learn that. Okay, so those are some of the big underlines that I wanted to make from this episode. And I love, 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 walking with women through this. And, I've been at a number of births. I've not trained as a doula, although I read the a doula book, preparing to assist and just be at someone's birth because I had been their coach and they felt so comfortable with me. And that's such a honor and privilege to be asked to be in that sacred space. So I honor and value it, but they have their training and their skill and they're amazing. So they have a specific expertise that has incredible value. So I think we've gotten that point across. But then having that sense, and if you're thinking about, like I talked about, I love coaching women, coaching couples as they're in that preconception space, or, even in the getting married and, these big transition points, before you're in the midst of it, doing, some growth work, some awareness raising, some coaching just to get perspectives and understand some of what's going to get triggered, what's going to come to the surface. And it doesn't guarantee that, in the heat of it, those triggers won't, be pretty significant, but you can move through them quicker and you'll have skills and you'll have support. So if that is speaking to you, please reach out and let's talk about it. Let's discover if doing some coaching in that arena sounds like a good idea. Okay, well, as always, a blessing to be with you. Thank you for listening, and until next time, bye-bye. Thank you for being with me on this episode of Rewrite the Mother Code. Dive in even deeper into the content by visiting drgertrudelyons.com. And that's drgertrudelyons.com, where you'll find comprehensive show notes, blog posts, and ways to work with me. If this episode resonated with you and you believe in the significance of this transformative work, take action now. Hit that subscribe button and share this episode with a friend who could benefit from some mother healing. Your support means the world to me, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Leave a review today. Every word fuels the strength of Rewrite the Mother Code. I personally read and respond to each review, so your feedback is invaluable in shaping the future of the show. Together, let's empower our communities and create lasting change. Until we meet again, know that I'm cheering you on every step of the way.